Hello there, I'm a nerd named Ryan, and today I'm going to review one of my absolute favourite action movies of all time. In fact, it may well be my favourite action movie of all time. Today, we're going to be talking about Predator from 1987. So, let's get into it. So yes, of course, Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, the late great Carl Weathers, and Jesse the Body Ventura, directed by John McTiernan. This was actually the movie he made before Die Hard, and a lot of people say Die Hard is the best action movie of all time. I think this is. This is my favorite. This, and maybe this and Aliens. Those two kind of go back and forth on which one is my favorite action movie. I like action when it's mixed with sci-fi, clearly, because yeah, this or James Cameron's Aliens, they're my two favorite action movies. Predator, I think, is just a perfect action film. It's so good. I really love this film so much. I've watched it so many times, and I rewatched it again last night. And yeah, just wanted to kind of come on here and just gush about it, just give my general thoughts and why I love this film so much. So let's get into that. So Predator stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the leader of a bunch of soldiers, a bunch of kind of mercenaries, who are tasked with going and rescuing a bunch of hostages from a jungle. This mission's going really well right up until the point where they all start getting picked off by some mysterious monster lurking in the jungle. So there's a lot of stuff that I really love about Predator. One of the first things that I notice about Predator every time I rewatch it, I kind of appreciate this a bit more in the past couple of times I've rewatched it, is how well paced this movie is. It is a big, action-packed, adrenaline-fueled action movie, but it does take its time building up to that. Building up to all the action and the madness and stuff like that. The first 20 minutes of this film is dedicated to, kind of setup, building the characters, setting the characters up, setting up the mission that they're going on, and also kind of dropping in hints and teasers that there's something not quite right in the jungle, that there's some, other presence, that the Predator is there. I really like that, that kind of slow build up right till we get to the first action scene. And then once we get that first action scene, then it kind of never stops. Then it ramps itself up and it goes into full-on action movie mode. And it never really slows down and never really lets up with that action until right at the very end, until it's finished. And I kind of love that. I think that's a brilliant way to do that. Spend the first half hour or so just building everything up, and then boom, first action scene. Now we're into it. Now we're going. Now we've got the action bits. Now we've got the suspense, the thriller elements, and the horror elements as well. Because even though Predator is technically an action sci-fi movie, I love how it utilizes horror tropes. You've got the kind of the very horror idea of people getting picked off one by one, a group of people getting picked off one by one by a single killer. That's a very kind of horror movie. That's almost a slasher movie idea, with the jungle kind of standing in for kind of like, the house or the mall or, your typical slasher movie settings. I kind of love that. Also, I love how it's directed. John McTiernan really kind of makes the jungle feel very sort of claustrophobic and atmospheric, and again, that kind of lends itself to the more kind of horror elements of the movie. Also, the way the Predator kills people is very horrific. When you see the bodies skinned and strung up, but that's a horrifying image, and I kind of love that. So yeah, I love that even though Predator isn't technically a horror movie, it does have a lot of kind of horror elements, a lot of horror tropes, and it uses those horror tropes and sci-fi tropes to tell a really excellent, really solid, really exciting action movie. John McTiernan, who directed this, is a really good action director. I mean, he made the best two Die Hard movies, Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 3. So this is a man who knows how to do action, and, the action scenes are all great, and they're all really varied. The very first one we get, which kind of establishes Arnie and his team as these kind of badasses. That is your kind of very typical over-the-top action sequence. It's got, lots of explosions, lots of gunfights, the mercenaries all cracking jokes and one-liners while they're, taking care of business. So that's like a typical kind of action scene. But then later action sequences, they kind of mix it up a bit. We've got, scenes where the Predator's picking characters off one by one. There's a fist fight later on. There's like booby traps later on. There's all kinds of different action scenes, and they all feel really different and really unique and really fresh from one another. No two action scenes in this movie feel the same, and I think that can be a problem with some action films, where they have a bunch of scenes but they all feel the same. Not so with Predator. Predator really does its action really well. It handles the action really well. I love the acting in this as well. Obviously, it's an action movie. You're not going to get like world class, Oscar winning acting. But I love that they cast all these kind of larger than life personalities and then give them larger than life characters. Obviously, you've got Arnie in the lead role. Arnie's always good. Arnie's always good in this kind of film. He's always at least watchable or entertaining in these kind of films. So I loved him in this. The late, great Carl Weathers is in this as well. He's kind of the second lead. And the way he and Arnie kind of play off each other, the way that they're kind of, their characters are trying to one-up each other all through the film is really interesting to watch and really fun to watch. And I think they have a great dynamic. And of course, you got my personal favorite character, Blaine, played by Jesse the Body Ventura. I love Jesse Ventura in this movie. He has my favorite line in this whole film, which is, "I ain't got time to bleed." He is so good in this movie. I love him in this film. All the cast are really good. No one is bad in this movie. That's the thing. No one's bad or boring or bland or uninteresting. Even like, Shane Black, who was basically cast in the film so that they could have him rewrite and rework the script while on set. That's basically the reason they cast him in the movie. And they admit this on the making of on the second disc. Like, yeah, we wanted Shane Black to do rewrites on the movie, so we're like, we'll put him in the film. And he didn't want to do it, so we thought, we'll put him in the film. And then while he's here, we're like, while you're here, Shane, would you mind? So I love that. But even he's good in this. He's the character who kind of, he tells all the kind of the dirty jokes. Very, none of them are like super complex characters, but they're all really fun to watch. They all have, good banter and a good sort of dynamic with each other. So that's a really fun element of the movie. I really love the Predator itself. First off, the guy in the suit is Kevin Peter Hall, who is fantastic. He really does give a lot of character to the Predator through his body language, through his movement. He gives a lot of character and a lot of personality to the Predator. So the Predator doesn't feel just like another monster. He has a very kind of, he has his own characterization, and I really like that. I think that's cool. I love the design of the Predator, both with the helmet on and then when he, takes the helmet off and you see the face. It's a really good effect. I think most of the special effects in this hold up really well. The invisibility effect or the camouflage effect of the Predator maybe hasn't aged all that well, nor really, I would argue, has the heat vision, the POV shots from the Predator's point of view where it's all heat vision. That hasn't really aged well, but other than those two things, most of it's aged really well. The practical effects. I love seeing practical effects in movies. It's so good, especially like I love the fact that they've shot in an actual jungle. They filmed it in an actual jungle. Sure, they built a couple of fake trees and they trimmed a few other trees so that the jungle was, a bit more cinematic. But I love that they went to an actual location. It gives it that authenticity that I think, in certain action movies nowadays, maybe don't get if you do it on a green screen. I hate to sound like I'm, moaning about modern cinema, because I do love a lot of modern action movies. But yeah, sometimes when you have those kind of green screen effects, doesn't feel the same, even when it's really good green screen. So I think you can't really beat being on location and actually having an actual jungle be there. I think that's really, really cool. I love that. So the special effects, for the most part, absolutely hold up in this. Alan Silvestri's score is so good for this. Alan Silvestri is one of the best film composers ever, I think. He's just so good, and the music throughout this movie is brilliant, especially kind of in the final showdown between Arnie and the Predator. The music and everything just kind of works overtime there, The cinematography is great. All the shots in the jungle look great. All the action sequences look spectacular. So the cinematography, the editing, the design, the special effects, it all just works, Predator's a movie that just works for me. Every element of it is just solid. It's just really, really well done from start to end. I just love this movie. I've seen it so many times. It is my favorite action movie of all time. It's just great. The Predator is a great monster. The characters are all so wonderfully wacky and over the top and great. I actually do kind of like some of the more emotional moments. I know some people think that that's, a weak point of the movie. But like when but there's like a scene where one of the characters dies without going into spoilers. I mean, the movie's from 1987, but I know some people probably haven't seen it. But there's one character that dies, and then another character kind of grieves for him, and that scene I think is quite nice and quite touching. I think it's not like super emotional. It's not going to make me like cry or anything, but I thought it was quite sweet and quite well done. So yeah, Predator. I have very very few complaints about this movie, other than like a couple of the effects looking a bit dated. But I think that can be forgiven. Other than that, Predator, absolute masterpiece. I love this movie. I actually really like Predator 2 as well. I know a lot of people don't like that one, but I really love Predator 2. So maybe I'll review that one as well at some point. But yeah, Predator, I just watched it last night. Felt like coming on here and just rambling about it for a little bit. So, have you seen Predator? What do you think of Predator? Do you like Predator? Do you think it's overrated? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.